Welcome to the A59 in Lancashire. It's another lovely sunny day. It's warming up. Spring is springing, and we are outside BAE Systems, one of Great Britain's most successful and biggest arms manufacturers, or if you prefer, defence contractor. Why don't they call them defence expanders? Why a defence contractor? Oh, who's going to contract it? So I want to bring you today a fictionalized account of how the Islamists will have a successful civil war against Great Britain, turning this country into a caliphate, like Al-Andalus, Spain was, when they conquered that and killed all the Christians. So remember, everything I'm about to say is fictional, as in it's not real. But okay, welcome to Salisbury BAE Systems. I've given the security guard a thumbs up and a smile, because that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to get photonic anxiety. I'm here to film the F-35 Lightning and the something Lightning. The one on the left is the modern Lightning, and it's clearly named after the one on the right. Now the one on the right has a strange one engine over another engine, like not like the F-18 or the F-15 where the engines are side by side. No, it's like those weird shotguns where one barrel is above the other barrel. Rule Britannia, Britannia rule the waves. Well, see that flag? Let's see how well the most powerful empire in the history of mankind copes when the Trojan horse is already within the gates, and there are actual people, British people, working very hard to help and assist a hostile takeover. And they're self-hating Europeans, self-hating British, aka commies, communists. They would love to see the straight white males, especially the business straight white males, and their Jewish counterparts. These commies would love to see the above mentioned put in their rightful place, which is obviously under the boot of Lenin, under the boot of Stalin. They love it, and they call themselves anti-fascists. You gotta love it. Now, just in case you're wondering, they're just fiberglass models, guys. They've not placed a £560 million aircraft here for me to throw shit at. We are forever in need of context and to geolocate ourselves, so there you go. Pressed into my left, the Clit Hero E, now with 3 different vibrating speeds for all your between the legs needs. And see that one? Wally is pronounced Warley. Go figure. Let's begin. So here we go. And we begin. It's no secret that every day between 100 and 400 military-aged men arrive on the shores of Great Britain, mostly in the south. And rather than being seen as a security threat, they are helped to the shores by the lifeboats, by the charities, by the Royal Navy very often, by police vessels, by people, you know, do-gooders. They get brought to the shore. So each day, a new military battalion of military-aged men, hostile perhaps to the country, arrive. And when men travel with their families, with their babies, with their wives, you know they're emigrating. When men travel alone, they are invading. An absolute cosmic coincidence occurred on the very same day that the Labour deputy leader, a far-left communist named Angela Rayner, brought in a working definition of Islam into the legal framework in this country. By absolute coincidence, Britain marked its 150,000th military-aged migrant being put up in a hotel in a town near you. Many people did polls. They found out that 94% of the migrants in the migrant hotels were from a Muslim nation. Now, they didn't ask them if they were Islamists, but they can tell you factually 94% of the 150,000 people in the migrant hotels come from a Muslim nation. And nobody thought to ask them, why didn't you emigrate to a peaceful Muslim country? Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Bahrain, Qatar. Yemen, I'm only joking. No, but Jordan, for example, if you're wanting peaceful stuff, maybe Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt. Nobody thought to ask why these military-aged men, traveling without their families, wanted to go to Christian countries. A local British Islamist charity, and they're very open about it. All their rivals had been banned. Hizb ut-Tahrir, all the other Islamist organisations were banned by the UK government, but the Resettlement Islamist Party was fully allowed to operate. And on the very day that Angela Rayner and her British Muslim counterparts brought in the working definition of Islamophobia, the above-mentioned party, the Resettlement Islamist Migration, you know, Dar al-Harb, means House of War in Arabic, they thought, what we'll do, we'll organise a massive rally in Blackburn. Blackburn, they said, will cater very well to the needs of so many Muslim activists, protesters. So, buses were organised, paid for by you, the taxpayer, of course. Buses were organised to bring 125,000 military-aged men to Blackburn. And they put on, like, you know, ticker tape parades, they got like street parties, tables, sweets, they were doing music in the streets, not too much music because that is haram, but just the right amount of music to welcome 125,000 young men. As they were getting set up in Blackburn city centre, an old granny noticed. She said, "Hey, Reginald," to her husband. She goes, "See those placard sticks? They look awfully thick. They look like clubs that you could use to hit someone with." And Reginald shrugged his shoulders. He said, "If the British government has allowed this, I'm sure it's been vetted and I'm sure it's absolutely fine." UKIP, the Tommy Robinson fans, and Reform Party, they all organised a small counter-demonstration in Blackburn city centre, but they were made to protest from within a pen, and they were watched over by armed police. About 12 armed police were in Blackburn city centre because the government had told them that far-right bigots, as in white supremacist, Freudian slip there, nasty British activists were wanting to ruin the 125,000 strong Islamophobia celebration day that they were having, organised by the Islamist organisation that the little old granny noticed. That those placard sticks, they're big, thick hardwood, and they were handing them all out. So it got to about 11 a.m. and the last of the dozens, hundreds of large buses bringing in these men into Blackburn arrived. And as they stepped off the bus, funnily enough, they were each handed a backpack. Nobody dared ask what was in the backpack. That would be a bit Islamophobic. That would be a bit racist. What, you implying just because they're wearing a backpack that it's not full of fruit and picnic baskets and, you know, drink and, you know, like bandages, you know, in case... No, you are racist. You thought those backpacks contained weapons of war and things to do an insurrection with. How dare you think that? As all the men came off the buses, got their very thick stick, very big hardwood stick in their backpack, the Islamist charity had organised 3 Muslim converts, as in Englishmen with blue eyes. One of them was ginger, go figure. You know, white, pale-skinned European converts to Islam. He organised for them to do a distraction, a false flag from within the UKIP, Tommy Robinson, British Patriot counter-protest. One of the false flaggers was fully embedded within the British Patriot counter-protest, and in his particular backpack, he had some sheep's blood. He had sheep's blood, a bottle of sheep's blood. And as the kind of 2 sides were kept separate, our false flag, we'll call him Ibrahim, real name David Fulner, or whatever, you know, whatever his name is. He saw his chance. And as the Muslim Blackburn family who had come out to celebrate the parade, you know, they had like a couple of young girls, and the false flag Islamist, he took his sheep's blood and threw it over the family while shouting very racist, anti-Muslim, anti-Southeast Asian, anti-Pakistani rhetoric at them, causing a massive disturbance. Word quickly spread throughout the giant crowd that some Tommy Robinson's fans had doused a Muslim family in pig's blood, and the rumour spread that they were burning Qurans left, right and centre. 2 van loads of police from the tactical assault unit came forward to separate the two sides as violence had already begun. And perhaps in the excitement, perhaps they shouldn't have done this, but 3 armed police cars with 6 armed officers armed with Heckler & Koch semi-automatic assault rifles covered in magazines, Glock 19s on the side. They thought they could help as well by keeping the two sides separated. And it was at that moment when the shit absolutely hit the fan and things were taking place that would never be able to get pulled back again. And look at this. This is what we're dealing with. Suddenly, a massive scream erupted from within the Migrant, the hotel-housed Migrant giant protest. They started waving their big sticks. Near the front, the screaming, the hollering, the frothing at the mouth was non-stop. No one could believe that those white devils throwing pig's blood over a Muslim family on International Islamophobia Awareness Day, or whatever Angela Rayner was going to call it. The sky went from a deep cerulean blue to something far more sinister. What was that? Said the local residents of Blackburn. Someone was letting off smoke grenades in the city centre. Visibility was nearly zero. And this all happened from the blood thrown to the smoke grenades in the space of 45 seconds. In the confusion, someone heard, "Armed police, get on the ground!" And then people say they heard 3 shots fired, 3 shots in quick succession. Bang, bang, bang. People were asking now, there's a strong wind, why is the smoke not clearing? And then they could see what it was. Tires on fire. Roadblocks, again, from the blood being thrown to the roadblocks with burning tires. Maximum 2.5 minutes, things were moving very quickly. And as the smoke cleared in the center, away from the burning tires, people could see there were 3 police BMW X5s with a red asterisk on the side denoting that they contained armed officers. They were smashed up, the glass was smashed, one had a door ripped off, but the rear doors and the trays where all the ammunition held, all smashed, all stolen. But more scarily, where were the 6 officers? 2 of them were female. Where were they all? Before anyone could really decipher what was going on, the Islamist charity had agents all over social media, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube Live, saying that the bigoted far-right neo-Nazis had kidnapped the police. It was all a smokescreen, massive smokescreen. Lefty Twitterers, people on the far left, Guardian readers, Guardian columnists, university lecturers, they started amplifying the message that the native population, look how dangerous they are. You can't put them anywhere near a peaceful Muslim protest, and they become bigoted, violent neo-Nazis. What in fact had taken place is that the 6 officers were beaten unconscious with big sticks. Their guns, all their guns taken off them. All the ammunition and the spare guns in the BMWs taken deep into Blackburn. The streets were absolutely chaotic. Young military-aged men running around everywhere, smashing windows, screaming that Britain is a racist country. Britain had failed to welcome them. Britain was discriminating against them. They didn't mention the fact that they'd been housed in 4-star hotels for 2.5 years for free, given free food, No, that suddenly went out of the window. They felt justified in doing what they had to do because their prophet had said, the whole world will be Muslim. And anyone that fights you is a pig and a monkey. All the while, the very centre of Blackburn had been cordoned off with masked men manning checkpoints, roadblocks with burning tires, carrying big sticks, many of them swords, machetes, knives, kitchen knives, baseball bats. All because they had to do this, they said. They had to create a safe space, a sanctuary for Muslims, away from all the bigotry and nastiness of all these far-right bigots. They promised that they would release the kidnapped police officers and give back the guns. They just had to hold them for now. They were telling us it was for the safety of the officers. They had to hold them for the safety of the officers because they didn't feel it was safe to put them back out on the street with those neo-Nazis out there. The government organised an emergency Cobra meeting, but by this stage, 7 members of the cabinet were Muslim, and they asked everyone for dialogue, to slow down. Do not send in the SAS, do not send in the SBS, do not encircle Blackburn with the British military. No, dialogue, especially on Islamophobia Legal Definition Day. We're not going to hurt anyone, they said. The various Muslim charities were asking for calm as well. Protests had risen up in many cities around the UK, and people were angry. They demanded the release of the 6 police officers. And again, it's important to note, all this is taking place within the first 90 minutes of the blood being thrown. The very same day, council leaders within Blackburn itself asked for the devolution of Blackburn, a kind of a mini Brexit, an exit away from Britain. They asked for the Muslim caliphate of Blackburn to be established before any police officers could be released. All the while, all the lefty press, all the communists, all the socialists appealing for calm. Do not act. Muslims are our brothers and sisters. We promise you, they're not going to try and take over the country. Maybe just Blackburn, just one city, guys. What is one city after all the damage that Britain's done in their countries over the years? Just give them one city, guys. We promise they'll give back the hostages. We promise. All the while, the government's scratching its head. How do we get 6 British police officers out, 2 of them female, when they're surrounded by 100,000 people who have now embedded women, children and babies next to these police officers as human shields? Scratching their heads. How do we do it? How do we do it? Well, said many of the Muslim politicians, give them concessions. Maybe offer them Burnley or Bolton as well. Those are predominantly, in the centre, predominantly Muslim areas. Maybe this will pacify them, just appease them a little bit more. 4 hours after this, 25 armed men, armed with 2 assault rifles and a pistol, took over Burnley Town Hall and set up roadblocks around Burnley as well. And funnily enough, and then another 3,000 migrants arrived in Burnley, and they set up roadblocks all around the city centre as well. And they invited families to come in. Bring in your babies, your women and your children. They'll never bomb us. They'll never try and do a hostage rescue with the babies that we have here. And by the end of the week, they took Bolton as well. Burnley, Bolton, Blackburn, all very close to each other, and they set up roadblocks, their own rules, Sharia law within there. No Englishman, no Brit was allowed in without written permission. They controlled everything. They cut the internet. They did everything. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your fictionalized account of how quickly and how easily a beachhead, a front, a kind of stamp can be made on land. The Vikings did it in England about 1,000 years ago, 800 years ago. And they were vastly tiny in number compared to the people who consider this Dar al-Harb, the house of war. All the while, you thought you were making concessions to live in peace and harmony, and all the while you were being weak and making concessions. Your adversaries were planning on how to effectively take you over.